As we predicted, that are all abandoning Donald Carrier prosecutor, the Department of Justice, both at main justice and in US Attorney Office across the country, are saying we quit. We will not work for a fascist regime. We will not put our names on documents that violate the Constitution. No way. No how. Go find someone else will to do that for you, Donald. We are not risk our law license or destroying the reputation of for this. And these prosecutors are making it clear. We refuse to work under people like Paul Ingracia, a first-year law who just been appointed to lead the office of special counsel. We are not going to take orders from someone who hands out carriage-worthy blank checks, whether it's for Zelensky or for Putin. A first-year liar who openly praises Putin, who once called Nikki Haley unsufferable, who writes that Trump is the Constitution, and who even said, at this point, I had voted for Como overrun. Someone who has repeatedly used anti Semitic dog whistle to describe prominent Jewish public figure and who spread conspiracy theories. Like on October 8, 2023, describing the Hamas led attack and ensuring war on scope. That's who you have got running things over there. And then there's Alina Haba, a complete hack who goes on TV insisting, I am not a hack, while providing the opposite every time she opens her mouth. She was voted out by federal judge in her New Jersey district. Yet she refused to step down like a total sociopath, declaring, I am not leaving. Now, every prosecution in New Jersey is at risk of being thrown out because the district has an lawfully installed US attorney. And then there's Bayless, a young mega aligned US attorney in the Central District of California, who essentially says, I am not listening to what the court says. Forget that. Forget the DOJ manual. Screw it. That's the attitude. And because of it, career prosecutor, people from top law school want nothing to do with these clones. They do not want to work under right wing fascists. Plus, they have been what happened to Jeff Clark, Donald Trump liar. During Trump's first term, Jeff Clark worked at Department of Justice ended up losing his law license after the DC bar said, no, we do not care if Donald Trump is protecting you. You are violating your ethical duties. Reuters first broke that story on July 14, but we have been covering it here on the network since we back in January and February. According to Reuters, two-thirds of the Department of Justice unit responsible for defending Trump policies have resigned. This division, tasked with defending his executive order, saw 23 attorney walkouts and none have been replaced. Then you had Fox host, turned US Attorney for Washington DC, Jenny Pirro, appears on Laura Ingram's show. Ingram speak on state-run regime media, said she had heard there was a major staffing crisis. Pirro admitted, I am down 90 prosecutor, blaming it on nobody caring enough to make sure the office was running. Really? Who are you talking about? Under Biden, Obama, or even George W. Bush, stuffing was full. As someone who attended Georgetown Law, I can tell you the DOJ once hired the best of the best. A stint there was launching paid to federal judgeship or a lucrative private practice career. Lawyer who spent 7 to 10 years at the DOJ often left to earn millions, and many later returned to senior position or the bench. These were top law school gods competing for rules as elite as getting into Harvard. But no anymore. Today, career prosecutors are simply walking away. Here's what Jenny Pirro had to say. Roll the clip.
Judge, I've been hearing from my sources at the DOJ that there is a very, very big problem with staffing. Assistant attorney generals on down saying we have great plans, we're doing great things, but we're down like 2/3 staff.
Yeah, I'm
What's
down
going on?
90 prosecutors.
Why is that happening?
60 investigators and paralegals, because nobody cared. I'm telling you right now, nobody cared enough to make sure that office was running. I'm going to have that office running. If you want a job in the nation's capital, in the premier office, the largest U.S. Attorney's office, contact me.
Take, for example, the ongoing Epstein cover-up. The Department of Justice appointed Todd Blanche, whose main qualification is being Donald Trump criminal defense lawyer, as its number 2 official. Under his watch, Ghislaine Maxwell granted immunity despite serving a 20 years sentence for sex trafficking. Meanwhile, Trump fired Marine Comey, the lead federal prosecutor in Southern District of New York, who had prosecuted Maxwell and was pursuing Epstein his alleged suicide. Other prosecutors from that office will soon resign as well, moving to private law firms because they refuse to participate in covering up a pedophile sex trafficking ring. These attorneys do not want to be complicit, not as Trump worked to overturn Britain citizenship or send ICE to disappear human beings. A reckoning is coming. Democracy will prevail. And federal prosecutors now, they do not want their names tied to the wrong side of the history. That's why Trump is left relying on likes of Bilis, Alina Habba, Paul Ingracia, and others willing to do his bidding. Now, let's look at this powerful moment from the past few months. Ryan Quell, a top career prosecutor, resigned from Trump's DOJ after they dropped the charge against Eric Adams. He is now refusing for Congress. Reflecting on his decision, he said, "The day after I resigned, my sister had her first daughter. I want my nation to grow up, knowing the same democracy I have known, a democracy worth any cost." Here's the clip.
At this point, too many lines have been crossed, and so I too resigned. The threats against current members of the legal community, both in public service and private practice, are real, and they're of consequence. To those attorneys facing such threats, I share with you a message that I received on the day that my colleagues and I were ordered to dismiss the Adams case. It came from a fellow Marine. It read, "Keep your head up and keep your values and your oath at the forefront." Every attorney who takes an oath to uphold the law and every citizen who values democracy must have a line in the sand that cannot be crossed. Speaking out and doing the right thing increasingly comes with personal risk. But the day after I resigned, my sister had her first daughter, and I want my niece to know the same democracy that I've known. That's worth any cost. That's worth fighting.
And once again, we have been reporting that back in February. Take George Steve, for example, as senior DOJ official and 15 years veteran who served under both Republican and Democratic administration. He resigned saying he could no longer work in such hustle and toxic environment once where leadership at the highest level made it clear that career professionals were neither welcomed or nor valued. Likewise, the head of the criminal division in Tennessee stopped down during the Abrigo Gracia case after Trump DOJ pursued what many saw as a politically motivated indictment upon Gracia's return to US. These career prosecutors are united in their stance. They will not risk their law licenses or lend their name to support a fascist regime. As Julie Zibrak notes, the DOJ Civil Rights Division, one of its most prestigious office, has lost the majority of its lawyer, a major brain drain that will inevitably slow its work. These raises the question of how DC federal judges will respond to the department's growing request for extension due to understuffing. As we have reported on the network, and as I predicted back in February, a massive exodus of career prosecutor was coming, and now it's here. The Trump DOJ simply would not be able to manage the case load, whether defending against lawsuits from top law firms and pursuing its own action. They would not be able to keep up with the pace of litigation, and the federal judges, they see exactly what happening inside the Trump regime. Mark Zed, a respected national security attorney, put it plainly. For many years, most of my cases, often high profile and with potential national policy impact against the US government, were handled by Justice Department Federal Program Branch. These were usually top-notch, non-partisan professionals. It is shameful what has happened to them as seasoned career prosecutors walk out the door. They are being replaced by unexperienced lawyer, and the result is glaring, sloppy, careless, layering. For example, in one case, MTA, we do the DOJ accidentally filed an internal memo directly with the judge, a memo in which they openly admitted they expected to lose. The judge, seeing this, pointed out that it amounted to a state bar violation. Since lawyers are prohibited from pursuing case, they now have no legal merit. Despite this glaring blunder, here's what Bayless, the lead attorney in the Southern District of California, had to say. He essentially said, forget the justice manual. Ha! He used much stronger language aimed the embracing Democrats and bastard who have got tricks up our sleeves. Career prosecutor, however, wanted to part of it, making it clear they refuse to be associated with such conduct. Then there's Alina Haba, still serving as the lead attorney in New Jersey. In my view, she is occupying the role without proper authorization. Yet she insists, I am not a hack, I am a real liar. Here's the clip.
I'm not a political hack. I'm an attorney licensed in 4 states. I've been licensed by the Supreme Court of the United States, and I have practiced law for the better of 20 years and run law firms for most of 15 that have been extremely successful, despite what the Twitter trolls would like to say. I mean, so-called this, so-called hack, so-called name calling is kind of beneath me, to be honest. I frankly would never despise somebody I've never even spoken to, but I assume he thinks he knows who I am. I'm a really accomplished attorney. I'm very proud of the work that I've done, and quite honestly, a fierce defender of the Constitution, a patriot, and I love this country. Now, I would never hold any position. He's a politician. I am not. I'm an attorney. But at the end of the day, I am not a so-called U.S. attorney or a so-called hack or whatever he wants to call me. My name is Alina Haba. I'm an attorney, and I've been practicing for a very long time. And I am sick and tired of the name calling. I think it is exactly the toxicity that this country is done with.
Here's our friend, Democratic Congress member Dan Goldman, making it clear, no, he's a hack. Goldman, who himself Once a career prosecutor added, I would never put my name on any of these pleadings. Hear the clip.
I want to know what prosecutor is actually going to put his or her name on that indictment. And I want to see if, like what we saw in the Southern District of New York, where there was just a parade of resignations when they were asked to do something that was so clearly political and so clearly contrary to their oath of office. Alina Habba doesn't care. She's a hack. She doesn't even know how to introduce evidence into court during a trial.
That's a factual statement we saw happen.
And yet she's the U.S. attorney in New Jersey. She'll say anything. She'll do anything. But those prosecutors, those career prosecutors, and I was one, I would never put my name on that indictment. I would resign before I put my name on that indictment. And so part of what we need to do is explain where there are the pressure points, where are the leverage points, what's the next step. And that's true in this case, but it's also true with this reconciliation bill. It's also true with everything that they're trying to do, because to your point, Michael, everything they say is false.
I mentioned him earlier. Here's Bill, the prosecutor for the Central District of California. Take a look at this.
Yeah, this is targeting the Central District of California, it's a large area. It's 7 counties. But this is lawfare, simply. This is what this is. It's lawfare. They tried to bring a lawsuit 2 weeks ago. It was denied. So what they did is they actually filed a series of small cases until they found a judge they liked, and then they amended the complaint to make it a class action lawsuit. So these are the type of dirty tactics. And not only that, Laura, they filed it on the eve of the 4th of July to try to sandbag us. So that's what's going on here. This order, by the way, we do not detain people without reasonable suspicion. So that's not the issue. You know what it says in the order? She lists a category of things we're not allowed to consider to determine reasonable suspicion, amongst which is the workplace, where they're working, where they're located, and what type of job they're working. We have a bunch of locations where we know documented that they employ illegal immigrants, and she's saying we're not allowed to consider that.
And now that hack Paul Ingracia and one who posted comments calling Nikki Haley insufferable, praising Putin and making all those other remarks. He is now heading the office of the special counsel, but Trump keeps delaying his confirmation hearing because he does not have the vote to secure approval. In the meantime, Ingracia has launched a criminal or special investigation into special counsel Jack Smith. Jack Smith is respected career DOJ professional known for his non-partisan approach and his work prosecuting publicly integrity cases. Now, figures like Paul Ingracia are targeting people like Jack Smith, which is utterly absurd. As you saw from Jenny Pirro's own admission, they simply do not have the liars anymore. Most have quit. What's left are the most extreme authoritarian and anti-constitutional individual. Fortunately, the federal judiciary, apart from the Supreme Court, still largely see through these Trump's aligned hacks, especially at district court level.